Have you ever wondered if your greatest fear could become your greatest protector? One rainy evening, a tiny kitten wandered farther than she ever should have. Lost, frightened, and completely alone, she cried into the dark forest. Then, from the shadows, a silent red fox appeared. Was he a hunter, or the only one willing to help? On the edge of Green Hollow Forest stood a peaceful little village filled with laughter. Every afternoon, children played happily with their friendly cats. Among them lived a curious little kitten named Misty. Misty loved chasing butterflies, colorful leaves, and dancing beams of sunlight. Every day was a new adventure waiting to be discovered. But curiosity sometimes leads to unexpected places. Misty's mother always watched her with loving eyes. She gently warned, "Never wander near the forest. The trees can confuse even the smartest animals." Misty nodded politely, believing she would always remember. Deep inside the forest lived a quiet fox named Rowan. Rowan preferred peace over trouble. He spent his days searching for food and caring for his small forest home. Yet every animal kept their distance. They judged him simply because he was a fox. One beautiful afternoon, a bright blue butterfly fluttered past Misty. Without thinking, she chased after it. The butterfly floated across a tiny stream. It danced through tall grass and thick bushes. Misty happily followed, forgetting how far she had traveled. Suddenly, the butterfly disappeared. Misty looked around in confusion. Every tree looked exactly the same. Every path seemed unfamiliar. She softly called for her mother. Only silence answered her frightened voice. Dark clouds slowly covered the sky. Rain began falling through the forest leaves. Fear replaced curiosity as Misty searched desperately for home. With every tiny step, she wandered even deeper into the mysterious forest. The rain grew heavier, making the forest paths slippery and cold. Misty carefully stepped over a large, fallen tree. Suddenly, her tiny front paw slipped between two thick branches. She pulled as hard as she could, but her paw wouldn't come free. Panic filled her little heart. "Meow! Help! Somebody, please help!" she cried. Her frightened voice echoed through the quiet forest. Rain soaked her fluffy fur as she shivered in the cold. The daylight slowly began to disappear. Misty felt more alone than ever before. Not far away, Rowan searched quietly for berries and insects. Suddenly, his ears stood tall. He heard a frightened kitten crying for help. Rowan stopped walking and listened carefully. He knew someone was trapped, but he also knew the villagers feared foxes. If they found him beside a missing kitten, they might never believe the truth. Rowan quietly looked toward the sound. He had a difficult choice to make. Walk away or risk everything to save a stranger. Rowan chose kindness. He slowly stepped through the bushes toward the frightened cries. Misty gasped when she saw a fox standing nearby. She trembled with fear. Rowan gently spoke, "I'm here to help." Misty wasn't sure if she could trust him. Rowan carefully examined the fallen branches. He searched nearby for a long, strong stick. With all his strength, he pushed against the heavy branch. Once, twice, and again. Finally, the branch rolled just enough. "Now!" Rowan called. Misty quickly pulled her paw free. She stared at Rowan in complete surprise. For the first time, she realized the fox had saved her life. Rowan smiled gently and stepped away from the fallen tree. "We need to find shelter before the storm gets worse," he said. Misty looked at Rowan with uncertainty. After a quiet moment, she nodded and followed him. Together, they walked carefully through the rain-soaked forest. Rowan guided Misty around slippery rocks and muddy ground. Whenever she stumbled, Rowan slowed down for her. Misty began to feel safer with every step. The forest slowly grew darker as evening approached. Then Rowan suddenly stopped walking. His ears stood straight as he listened carefully. The forest had become strangely quiet. No birds sang. No squirrels rustled through the trees. Only the soft sound of rain remained. Then a loud crack echoed high above them. Rowan looked up and saw a giant dead branch breaking loose. "Run, Misty!" he shouted. Misty froze in fear. Rowan sprang into action without hesitation. At that very moment, the enormous branch crashed to the ground. Leaves, twigs, and mud flew through the air. Misty landed safely among the bushes, but Rowan was struck across his back before the branch rolled away. "Rowan!" Misty cried as she rushed toward him. Rowan slowly stood, hiding the pain as best he could. "I'm all right," he whispered with a brave smile. Misty realized he had risked his own life to save hers. From that moment, fear turned into trust. As they continued walking, Misty stayed beside Rowan instead of behind him. She quietly asked, "Why did you help me?" Rowan smiled and told her about the farmer who once saved his life. "Kindness should never depend on who someone is," he said softly. Misty carried those words in her heart as they continued toward the village lights. The rain finally stopped as the forest began to grow quiet. The trees became thinner, and the village appeared in the distance. Misty recognized the familiar fields and smiled with hope. Lantern lights flickered near the forest edge. Villagers were still searching for the missing kitten. Suddenly, Misty heard a familiar voice calling her name. "Misty!" her mother cried with relief. Misty ran as fast as she could toward her family. Her mother wrapped her in a warm, loving embrace. Tears of happiness filled everyone's eyes. Then someone noticed Rowan standing quietly beneath the trees. "Look, a fox!" a villager shouted. Several villagers picked up sticks without thinking. Rowan lowered his head and quietly stepped backwards. He expected to be blamed, even after helping. Misty quickly turned around. She bravely stepped in front of Rowan. "Please don't hurt him," she called. The villagers stopped in surprise. The forest became completely silent. Misty took a deep breath and told everyone what had happened. She explained how she became lost in the forest. She described her trapped paw and the cold rain. She told them how Rowan freed her with great effort. She shared how he protected her from the falling tree branch. Everyone looked at the injured fox with new understanding. An elderly farmer slowly stepped forward. He smiled and recognized Rowan from many years ago. "I once rescued this little fox," the farmer said gently. Rowan quietly replied, "Today, I simply passed that kindness on." The villagers lowered their sticks with respect. They finally understood that kindness is stronger than fear. Rowan returned peacefully to his forest home. Misty often visited the edge of the forest to see her brave friend. They never forgot the rainy day that changed both of their lives forever. Remember, never judge someone by appearance. True character is revealed through kindness, courage, and compassion. If this heartwarming adventure made you smile, until next time, keep believing in the power of kindness.